To start off today's Q&A session, can you speak a bit about how your trajectory and how you got to where you are today?
When I came here initially, I came here on the corporate side, not in the real estate area, and it was a great experience for me coming here. I worked crazy hours, Mindy can attest to that, 7 days a week, late at night, but I loved it. I found it fascinating. It reminded me in some ways of sports, particularly the investing side, because you would invest money and you could see how that investment turned out, and you could really have a scoreboard to tell you were you successful or not. I had no idea. If somebody had asked me when I was 20 years old would I do real estate, no, I had no idea. But an opportunity emerged. There were some smart people working in that area. It seemed like I could get some great experience, and I said sure. You know, what we do specifically, and I'll give you a sense of some examples of things we do, is basically raise money from institutional investors. So if you think about it, pension funds or university endowments, we raise money from these folks, and then we go invest it. In the case of our business, we buy real estate. So fix up this asset, and in doing so, hopefully drive more revenues, more profits, and more value. And then ultimately, when we finish, sell it. And we have this simple business model we call buy it, fix it, sell it, and that's what we do. Identifying something where you can generate a higher rate of return, and if you do that, and if you can create value after you buy it and then sell it, you return the money to your investors and they're very happy, and it's a bit like running a great restaurant. If you make great pizza or great pasta, people come back, and that's what's happened in our business. We started very small with no capital under management, and our real estate business has grown today to more than $80 billion of investor equity under management. We probably control more real estate than any other firm in the world, but it's all a function of the fact that we've executed very well. So I'd say it's been a fun trajectory, and as you'll hear, I still really enjoy what I do.
What do you think makes a successful entrepreneur? I guess any of you could answer that.
So leadership by example would be mine. If I come to work and treat people fairly, nicely, decently, then the people who work for me are going to do very similar things in the way they treat people, and so on and so forth. And an organization starts to build a culture like that. If I am passionate about what I do, if I'm optimistic that even in the worst of times, as you all know, in 2008 and 2009, there was a big financial crisis. All assets, investments went down in value, including everything we had. But I did, and a number of my partners woke up every day and said, hey, we're going to get through this. There's going to be great opportunities. We're going to be able to invest more capital, do great things. We can survive. That permeates an organization. So sort of the energy level, the way you conduct yourself, I think more than anything else you can do is the way you can lead by example. And I would say, with particular emphasis on being positive. If a leader is really positive, it just has a great impact around all sorts of people. It requires initiative. One of the challenges for a lot of people coming to work, and OJ's comments about deference relate to that, as well as a lot of people come to work and they want to be told what to do. They might be very smart, and I assume all of you are very smart, capable people, but a lot of people want to be told, like, I need to do A, B, C, this is it, fill out the form, and then they'll hand me something back. What an entrepreneur has is a willingness to take risks themselves and to show initiative, to say, I've got a different way to do this. You know, you prepared the food this way, you've done this medical procedure, you've had this legal approach. You know what, I have a different approach, and I'm willing to go for it. The people in the corner offices don't necessarily have the tablets from the mountain, right? They're just doing things because that's the way it's always been done. So I think great success comes from challenging status quo and for taking on, entrepreneurial risk. Look at the world a little bit differently. Some people do it by starting a business from scratch. Other people do it by changing things within an existing organization. But sort of pushing yourself, speaking up, saying we can do this a little bit differently, taking that risk, which is always a little bit scary, totally worth it. I have a motto at home, which is stay calm, stay positive, never give up. I think for me, it's just perspective. I constantly remind myself sort of where I came from, where I've gotten to, and just how fortunate we are. And the more I travel the world and I see the kind of inequality and the lack of infrastructure people live with, or the lack of political rights, no matter how bad your life is or how bad your high school teacher is, or whatever unfairness you think your parents have done to you, generally our quality of life is a lot better than most people have. We won one heck of a lotto to end up in this country at this period of time. And then if you happen to find something you really love, and I do think that's really part of it, which is I landed in a business and an industry I really enjoyed, and that makes it easier to wake up and be motivated even when there's a ton of work to do. And there are disappointments in my world, our world, investments don't work out, trying to get some big investor, they decide your presentation wasn't good, doesn't feel great, you get disappointed. But I've just found in my own life, if we just keep pushing, sort of keep going, something good will eventually happen.
My question was for, I guess, all of you three, if there were any sort of qualities that you came in to your career with that you had to overcome in order to be successful.
For me, interestingly, public speaking. When I first started, I would have thought that is a very scary, very daunting thing to do, to get up in front of a room of people and speak extemporaneously or even a prepared speech. Today, ironically, I have to speak publicly all the time, and it's just something I do as part of my job. But clearly that was something that I had to overcome to get where I am today.
I grew up in a household of Indian immigrants, and in Indian culture, you're taught to be very respectful of your elders. So coming to a place like Blackstone, it was hard to realize that if you don't speak your mind, and if that means disagreeing with your superior, if you don't say that, you sort of just get forgotten, and you get lost in the weeds or lost in the mix.
I say for me, it would be along the lines of asking for help. This is kind of a transition, I'd say, from high school to college to the professional career. I think when you're in school, so when you're smart and you work hard, you can kind of operate in your school bubble, and you get your homework and you do your homework and you work really, really hard, and you can kind of get by, but just by doing that by yourself. But I think as you get older and it becomes more and more of a team effort every single day, in a place like this where you're working with 4 or 5 people, really, really smart people like John, Olivia, who have a lot of different experiences that you can tap into, you have to learn to seek out counsel and advice from those people. And I'd say the parallel for you guys would be as you're in high school, you're in college, to really take advantage of all the resources around you guys. So you guys have really, really smart teachers, really, really smart parents. You guys have programs like these where you're reaching out to leaders. I mean, this is a perfect example of you guys taking advantage of all of the resources that you guys can get.
If any, how has mentorship made a difference in your professional and your personal life?
Do you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, mentorship has been really fundamental for me. I grew up, both of my parents were doctors, and I really didn't have any exposure to the business world before going to Penn. And so it was critical for me to seek out help from others. The nice thing about mentorship is it happens pretty organically when people see that you're passionate and interested in something. People generally want to help those that are interested in what they're doing. And so for me, I was able to intern over the summer after my sophomore year of college. And people in my internship really looked out for me and helped me at the next summer internship process and then for my full-time process. And that was really helpful, not just for providing advice, but also helping me to open doors that I wouldn't otherwise be able to open myself.
One thing that I think I've seen in other people who are really successful is that they all do have mentors. And that's something that requires effort, and it doesn't just happen. And I think that, especially when you guys are young, that you guys are doing the right thing in terms of reaching out to leaders in various kinds of businesses, because people enjoy teaching, and they enjoy telling you guys about themselves. So if I were you, I would keep doing this, and be very proactive in reaching out to try to find your own mentors, because ultimately you'll realize that that's really, really important for your own success.
There was a fellow, John Schreiber, who helped create the real estate business at Blackstone. And John is father of 8 kids and had been a very successful real estate investor. And since I was the only junior person at the time, he sort of adopted me. And I traveled around the country with him. and I sucked up everything he had to say. And I've been working with him ever since, and I continually learn from him. For whatever the organization is, having great, talented, driven young people is a super valuable commodity.